Welcome everybody to the finale in the month-long series of Taking Back Our Worlds. We appreciate you joining us on this Saturday morning, whether you are in Newark, New Jersey, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, or anywhere else. We're happy to have you here with us. I will give you guys a little bit of an advance warning. We're going to have a participatory conversation today. So if you were planning to lean back and just listen today, we're going to need the opposite from you. We're going to want everyone to lean forward, come with their questions and thoughts and anything else. So today we have a remarkable group of people who are kind of the focal panel of our conversation, but we're going to be wanting questions and comments from everyone else throughout our next hour together. So be ready. We're going to get officially started in just a couple minutes here. I am going to introduce just now, because I don't think it's worth taking time later for it, what I have has become the mascot of these conversations, which is this Cream City brick. If we're talking across Cream City and Brick City, I figure might as well have kind of an object, a talisman that can hold the energy of both of them. It's also been pointed out to me by someone who saw this brick that this brick has spent probably a few years in the water. It's probably spent some time in Lake Michigan getting worn down and kind of maybe serving as a habitat for some aquatic life. So that's part of our conversation. I wanted to ask a warm-up question to our panelists. We have a great group of panelists today, and just while we're spending a couple minutes waiting for folks, I want to ask you guys a question, and not everyone needs to answer if you don't have an idea, but I thought this has been a particularly stressful kind of a maelstrom this week of a lot of different things, a lot of thoughts and anxieties and tensions. I wanted to ask our folks from Milwaukee and Newark, where a good place to go would be in your hometown to find peace and to think. Where would be a place that you'd go in times of trouble to have a little, to gain a little bit of peace of mind while you kind of built up some fuel before jumping into action? Does anybody have a thought?
Anywhere by the water, I would suggest. There's something very calming about water. It pretty much is about the landscape and the aesthetics. It gives you a chance to kind of open up and think a little bit. But if you don't have any water, you need green space. And that also can affect you in a very positive way.
And for those of you in Newark, Milwaukee is on the shore of Lake Michigan, which is a big giant lake. You can't see the other side. It has almost, maybe not an oceanic feel to it, but it is, it's a kind of a reminder of things much larger than ourselves. So someone from Newark, do you guys want to offer a place to go where you might seek peace in a moment of tribulation?
I feel like a place that I would go is where I work at, which is a farm. I work at a farm and a garden, and just being there, just being with the plants and, just vibing out, chilling there. It really, gives me time to clear my mind or, get myself ready for, to just react on certain things or, go about certain things that I might have to do. So I like, clearing my mind and to, chilling in this space at the farm that I work at.
What's your favorite plant to vibe with?
I'm not gonna lie. We have these really big hydrangeas at the farm, and like when you first walk in, it's like the first thing you see. So I really like sitting next to them. And I'm a type of person when I'm gardening, I like listening to my music, so I'm normally singing and dancing with the plant. So yeah, the hydrangeas are always like my height. So
absolutely, vibing with the hydrangeas. I can't even say it right at the farm. Anyone else want to offer a place to find peace in the place you call home?
Actually, I'll jump in. This is Sherry. I find it in my yard. I like gardening, flowers, and I come in close my gate, I never know that I'm on 38th Street. I get into a whole different zone in peacefulness until, in my yard. I find
Is
peace
that what we
around.
see behind you, Sherry?
Yeah, that's what you see behind me. Yeah.
All right. Just looking at you right now makes me feel a little more peaceful.
Oh, that's what's up. All right.
And for the sake of balance, why don't we do one more person from Newark before we get officially started here?
I would say this is Anthony here. I would say we have a lot of parks, and so there's like Weekway Park, Branchbrook Park, both have lakes in them, which is very relaxing. And Riverfront Park or Riverbank Park has the Passaic River, which I mean, it's a New Jersey river, so but it's still a nice body of water. So I think I agree with Greg about just being near water. It's very relaxing, and there's a lot of trees there, and it's really, really, really peaceful, and it's beautiful. Like it's in our city, so like it just feels different.
Absolutely. So I appreciate you all. I will just say that introduction and that welcome question brought me some peace. Just kind of sitting here and getting in touch with other people, where other people find that peace of mind. And so welcome everybody. We're going to officially get started here. This is Taking Back Our Worlds. And from what that means, I'm going to pass it off to Mr. Arijit Sen, who's sort of the mastermind behind bringing together people across Milwaukee, Newark, and other places. Arijit. You're muted, Arijit.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back for our final episode of Talks Across Distances, Taking Back Our Worlds. I want to begin with acknowledgement that we acknowledge in Milwaukee that we are on traditional Potawatomi, Ho-Chunk, and Menominee homeland along the southwest shores of Michigami, where the people of Wisconsin's sovereign Anishinaabe, Ho-Chunk, Menominee, and Oneida, and Mohican nations remain present. We connect today with a land now called Newark, New Jersey, where the Lenni Lenape were part of the Algonquin nation that once lived in peace. And we shall not simply nod at land acknowledgement as a nicety, but we will act responsibly as citizens of this Commonwealth. Today is the last of our Taking Back Our Worlds conversation, exploring human responses to social and environmental justice. During the month of August, we had the greatest fortune to bring in community activists, leaders, and grassroots leaders from Milwaukee and New Jersey. These individuals talked about forms of injustice in their cities, but also told us about ways to fight such conditions. They offered us wisdom and suggested ways by which we can adopt some of these strategies in our own neighborhoods. They talked about what worked and what didn't. They gave us hope, direction, and offered new strategies to deal with old problems. But most importantly, by connecting across distances between Newark and Milwaukee, these leaders demonstrated how important and relevant it is to move out of our narrow worlds and to explore solidarities between cities, to consider ways of collectively engaging in a common struggle to create a better world. To learn from each other, share, and find time to hear struggles can only expand our horizons and strengthen our cause. Our project itself was built on the belief that conversations produce action, that our common human conditions hold answers for a just world. And I hoped to end this series on a high note with hope and excitement. But I'm not sure of that anymore. Everything is not well, and I cannot act as if it is. I'm not even sure if we should be here today. Talk is not enough. It's too late. We need to act now. Who will you talk to when everyone around us are gone? Our friends, our brothers, our sisters, our fathers, sons, mothers, daughters. Who will you talk to when our world changes beyond recognition? What will you talk about when our acts of caring are ground to dust by the myth of individuality and exceptionalism? Silence is complicity. It does begin with the names of our brothers, sisters, sons, daughters, and our parents. And I do want to actually name them. George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Adatiana Jefferson, Aura Rosser, Stephen Clark, Bottom Jean, Philando Castillo, Alton Sterling, Michelle Cusseau, Freddie Gray, Tanisha Fonville, Eric Garner, Akai Gurley, Gabrielle Navarez, Tamir Rice, Michael Brown, Tanisha Anderson. But uttering their names is just not enough. We have to act in their names, in the names of our own who were killed, but also those who were uprooted, disenfranchised, maimed, imprisoned, destroyed, beaten, shot at, interned, placed in reservations, and forced into submissions. It is too late for talk. It's time for action. We have with us powerful individuals today who act every day, who make a difference, whose actions are beacons to all of us as we consider our own responsibility to act. We are all in this together, and all I can say is thank you for coming.
I want to just offer everyone, you know, Jacob Blake is not on the list that Arijit just mentioned because he's recovering in a hospital right now. And I think I'm looking forward to the day when he's able to heal and tell his own story, which I think is going to be a really meaningful piece of the story that's unfolding right now, just 30 miles south of Milwaukee in Kenosha, Wisconsin. I just want to offer everyone just, 30 seconds or so to just sit quietly and reflect, to pray, to just take a pause and think about, to be with Kenosha today. His family's actually organizing an action today, inviting folks from all over Wisconsin and whoever else is available. So I would encourage you all, just for the next 30 seconds or so, just take some time to think, and feel free to turn off your camera if you want to, because I think it's a good moment not for people to be seeing your face. All right, thank you, everyone. So, taking back our worlds, as Arijit said, we have invited for this conversation some world-class people that we call neighbors in Milwaukee and are now our neighbors in Newark. To the quote from Frank Nitti that Arijit just shared, I know it can feel hollow sometimes to keep having conversations, but I do think that if you don't align purpose and passion with strategies and tactics, sometimes you might just find yourself adrift. And these are people that we've invited today who have that purpose and passion and the strategies and tactics to make difference in the world as we see it. So Chelsea, could we open up those slides? We're going to introduce each of our panelists here, and I will get out of the way as soon as possible. We're going to start in Newark with a man who has a different hairdo now. I'm so happy to have you back, Anthony. He was with us in our first conversation, and we couldn't get enough of you. So, Anthony, tell us a little bit about who you are.
My name is Anthony DIAZ. I'm the co-founder of the Newark Water Coalition. Newark is dealing with a lead crisis similar to Flint. And so we're a grassroots organization. We're not a nonprofit. This is all volunteer based. We go out there and we give out resources to the community. During the time of COVID, we started doing no contact water deliveries, and we also started moving into the social justice realm. So I feel like this conversation is very timely, and I look forward to having it. Thank you for having me. Thank you for having this in general.
Anthony, real quick though, tell us what we see in these 3 images.
So the first one is a water delivery I made at a public housing place in Newark, which was actually really good. That family was like, they really needed it. They didn't know about our organization. They reached out to us. And so I always feel uncomfortable taking pictures of like the family or us doing the work. So I'm like, all right, I'll just take a picture of me leaving the water on the front step. The second picture is during the real height of our first wave, I guess. They closed off a lot of streets in Newark to uh, die down or limit the movement of people. And I thought this wasn't right. They did it in certain or the blacker areas in Newark. And so what you see is a police barricade closing off one of the main streets. The third image is me picking up or delivering water to a church where we operate out of. It's St. Lucy's Church. The man in the picture is Omar, who has been our point of contact. And he's a brother that I love sincerely, because in doing the work that is, I guess, opposed to what the city's narrative is, you make a lot of enemies, and even your friends or allies get a lot of shit from the government. So Omar has been one of the people that have stuck with us throughout this whole journey.
Wonderful. Thank you, Anthony. Appreciate you for being here with us. Next, we have Sherry. Sherry, you're in your backyard. Will you tell us what you do when you're not in your backyard? Ooh, Sherry, you're muted.
Okay, there we go. Hi, guys. I'm Sherry Fuqua, the founder and the Middle Ground here in Milwaukee. And the Middle Ground is a community organization that actually we founded because neighborhood that I live in, the street actually divides 2 communities, which is Metcalf Park and Sherman Park. And at that time, it was so underserved by them both. And we just had to be that connection to connect communities and families. So we're working to empower and unite communities and develop. And this is just a photo of me and some of the youth, as well as some of the students from UWM doing one of the cleanups that we do on a regular. We clean up our community. We actually service a couple of parks in our community. We had built the city, the Partners in Places program that Tim McCullen had founded. And we had vacant lots, maybe right across the street, maybe 4 vacant lots that we turned into an orchard. And then we have a sitting park, which is Scholars Park at the end of the block across the street from the school for the scholars, just to make a peaceful place and grow some food and things and just unite communities. And that's what we do.
Thank you so much, Sherry. Appreciate you being here with us. We'll hear more about Sherry as we move forward. Greg, up next. I want to point this out to everybody. Greg's one of the last people I had the privilege to be with in person. You can see on his lapel there, or that on his pin there, he always has great style. Greg's always got, he knows what he's doing when he's getting dressed. Greg, aside from being a sartorially apt, what do you do?
My name is Gregory Powell II, and I am co-executive director of Peace Garden Project, MKE. A lot of you are very familiar with my fiance, Camille Mays. We basically handle many different issues of urban blight. We take on many initiatives and many tasks. We take makeshift memorials and put perennials or annuals down and do landscaping around that, just to kind of maintain a sense of beautification and try to uplift the neighborhoods in which we serve. We are primarily in the Sherman Park neighborhood and area where we live, but we touch many, many areas of Milwaukee. For the most part, I like to maintain a sense of being able to persevere, being able to push past everything that I see that is some type of void that needs to be filled. I figure out and the best ways in which we can do the job or take care of that task and also look forward to the future, things that can grow along with the people in the neighborhoods that we serve in. You know, I'm also an artist, and as you mentioned, I'm into fashion, I design and whatnot, but all of these things kind of end up coinciding, and I try to make the best of making sense of all of them together. So Camille and I, we get out here and we also work with Middle Ground. We also work with a lot of different factions out here in these neighborhoods, because we know that togetherness is pretty much the only way you can push past something that's been kind of piled on top of you. Years and years, centuries, even. I mean, we get to a point where we're just trying to handle one space at a time. And that includes gardens, it includes cleanups, it includes, you know, art pieces and installations. And so, you know, that's one of the main reasons for our access to these neighborhoods, is just so we can make things better. Take care of that melancholy feeling and make it beautiful. Beautification is pretty much our game.
Thanks, Greg. I do want to point out, we could probably spend the next hour looking at one of your artworks, Greg, but this is one of Greg's pieces right here. So let's move to our next panelist, Mr. Munir Bahoudin. Munir always tells me to say hello to my mother for him. So Munir, I trust you. Janet Carr is going to get a hello from you. Munir, tell us a little bit about who you are.
Excuse me. Well, I'm a community-based public artist, and for the last 10 years, I've been making what is called peace posts. And that activity has kind of taken me around the world. I've done community-based art in Uganda. I've done community-based art in Indonesia. I am now working on a community-based project here in Milwaukee, another peace post project. So I've done several peace posts around the country and the world, and engaging community to give them an understanding that using art to develop your ability to realize you have options is just really very important for me.
Thank you, Munir. And I will say, when the Newark folks come and visit Milwaukee, Munir's studio is a sacred space. It is amazing spending some time with Munir. And Munir, if you were to play one of your jazz CDs to welcome the Newark folks in, what would you play if you were DJing for them?
Probably be Thelonious Monk.
Thelonious Monk.
It'd probably be Thelonious Monk. It could end up being Charlie Bird, John Coltrane, anything. I mean, like,
see where the session goes, right?
Playing in the studio.
Absolutely. Thank you, Munir. And next we have Naeem, who we've already learned. I can't say hydrangea. I don't know. You can tell me. You can teach me how to say that later. Naeem, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey guys, my name is Naeem Carter. I'm a youth community organizer and a youth urban farmer for the Ironbound Community Corporation. And yeah, basically I do a lot of community organizing in my area, helping out a lot of people in my area. I'm also the secretary of my neighborhood where I live, which is Hyatt Court. And yeah, I just love everything I do. I'm 19. I started when I was I started gardening around the time I was about 10, and I really got into the environmental justice stuff around like maybe 13 or 14. So I've been real active in North, doing a lot of stuff now, and I'm so happy to be here with you guys.
Naeem, tell us in this photograph, in this image, what are we seeing here?
So actually, this photograph is from about 4 or 5 days ago. I'm actually standing on the stairs of the Newark City Hall. And basically, I'm a part of this thing called NCAP, which is Newark Communities for Accountable Policing. And in Newark, we've been fighting for a CCRB, which is a Civilian Complaint Review Board, for about 50 years. So we've been fighting for this for past my time. And we got bad news that we had brought, I guess the CCRB had brought the case up to the Supreme Court, and unfortunately lost the case in the Supreme Court. So we were there at City Hall advocating and fighting and not giving up at all.
Hmm.
I know everyone in Milwaukee is thinking, how do we get Naeem to move here? But we'll let Newark, Naeem can stay out there with you guys. Excellent. Wonderful. And last but not least, we have TREMERELL. TREMERELL, thank you for being here with us. Tell us a little bit about who you are.
Unmute.
Hi, I'm TREMERELL Robinson. I am Block Watch Captain of Centerpiece Neighborhood Council. And also I'm on the board for Center Street Bid 39. I have been in the community for a very long time. We do neighborhood cleanups. We have I've worked with the people in the community, neighbors. I talk to neighbors, young and old, renters, owners. I've tried to be a hub of resources for whatever is necessary, whether it's repairing the homes or if you're having community problems, whether it's crime or just neighbor problems. Also, I have worked with Bid 39, Center Street Bid 39, which I executive director is Dr. Jennifer Potts. We work with the businesses to build. We're trying to get investment in the businesses. We want our community to have businesses that they can shop in within our community without leaving. So little bit of, I kind of work with the businesses, also with the homeowners. And like I said, just a hub of information. I work also with Sherry Fuqua with Middle Ground. We have our community meetings. We alternate those community meetings and invite our neighbors to come in so that they can get resources as far as repairing their homes or whatever is necessary.
All right, thank you. Thank you for being with us. And that is, that's kind of the formal portion of our conversation. The rest of this, I have a bank of questions that I could draw upon. I'm infinitely curious, and the folks that we have here, I have a ton of questions for them. I would love for the panelists to drive the conversation. So if you guys have questions for each other, let's hear them. Also, if you are here, put a question in the chat. We can either read the question, we could also unmute you and allow you to read the question yourself. So from the get-go, we want to make this is going to be a rolling Q&A. That's basically what the rest of this is. Panelists, do you all have any questions for each other? Otherwise, I can offer one.
I guess I do, because I've been feeling a little differently about things in the state of the world recently. So my question for the panelists is, do you feel like the time now is to demand more? Like we have to, and I'm not going to, I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. Like we can't, it seems to me like we can't fuck around, right? People are dying. We are in a place where people are fighting for reform instead of really pushing for a complete overhaul of the system. So as activists, you also feel that we're at a crossroads where we have to decide, like, all right, let's take this very seriously, or let's keep spinning our wheels in electoral politics?
I think I'll touch that first. I have become very disenfranchised with some of the activities in which we participate as a people in these areas where we are left behind the most. For instance, as you were speaking of, whether or not we play in the political game, I think we should make sure that we cover our bases just to get rid of this current administration. But outside of that, there are many different parties in which we live directly around in our environments that we have not held accountable. I think that right now is not the time to stop. And right now is not also the time to stop innovating on how we approach these types of matters. Right now, I can name several different businesses, companies, corporations that are directly in our neighborhoods that never do anything outside of the regular charitable means that they contribute. I tend not to see anything that is on the streets that is touchable or tangible or viable towards getting rid of some of the blight in our neighborhoods. I also think that they directly benefit from not doing so, because then they can just take every dollar approach that they gain from our environment and our neighborhoods and our patronism or consumership, and then never kick it back into the neighborhoods. So right now I'm kind of compiling a list of these companies or factions, and we'll be approaching them soon with some tangible items that they can help out with, and start to take care of us the way we take care of them. I mean, you know, they get ahead by not participating in those types of deals, and we haven't started those conversations. Like, I'm sure that you in Newark, you guys are around several different things that grow constantly and build revenue and never really take care of your blight or your problems or the things that you guys are approaching and trying to fix on the ground. So I think those are the things we need to do. We need to start writing up proposals. We need to start getting to them and being at these tables and basically putting them on notice that we're aware of how things have been for a while, but the future needs to be different, and it needs to be more inclusive. And that's one of the things that I'm looking at. And so anybody who has ideas on those types of things, I believe we should collaborate. From Newark to Milwaukee, I think that's a big deal. We're very similar. We have some of the same plight. We have some of the same things going on. And so collaborative efforts, some type of co-op situations, whatever we can to try to get to this.
Anyone else want to respond to Anthony's question?
I think that to kind of piggyback on what Greg was talking about too, some of our elected officials are complacent. They are comfortable at being where they are, and they ignore our community. I'm one of the communities that I feel like is ignored. We are south of Center Street and east of Sherman Boulevard. And that is one of the areas that we're part of Sherman Park. And that's one of the areas of Sherman Park that pretty much get ignored. They have grant money, and when we reach out to get some of that grant money, we find out that we're not part of that. So it gets a little disheartening. Sometimes we're ready to just throw up our hands and say, you know what, I'm tired of it. I'm ready to walk away. But then I live here. I can't walk away. I've raised my family here, and I don't plan on going anywhere. I love my home, but they're not listening to us. The businesses on Center Street, we have so many vacant buildings owned by the city. And those buildings need care and love. They have good bones in them. The homes here have good bones in them, but a lot of them are sitting here vacant, being vandalized. And we need our elected officials to step up, and we need other people to step up and reach out, because we can't do it by ourselves. As hard as we try, we can't do it. And the people in the community, you know, we try to empower them, but a lot of them, you know, they're going through their own thing. So it's a work in progress.
Thank you. And let me just say, not to just to support what you were saying, and not to aggravate and some of the frustrations you're having, but if 4 years ago the Sherman Park uprising isn't going to make west of Sherman Boulevard open their eyes and draw some connections with east of Sherman Boulevard and Grant Boulevard, what will, you know? So I think that That is a very, so Anthony, you asked that question because I'm sure you have a thought, right? You didn't ask that question removed from the implications of it. What do you think?
So my whole thing is like, you know, obviously I work with a lot of activists in New Jersey, across the state, you know, nationally. So, you know, I see groups that are really happy with these Black Lives Matter murals, and they're like, look what we did in our city. And I'm like, that's not enough anymore. You know, I was so excited to see like, oh, the NBA is going to shut down. I'm sorry, the woman from the tennis match pulled out, and baseball and hockey. And then what did they do? They went right back to work. It's like, no, either you decide now Black lives really matter, and you're tired of watching people die on the internet. You're tired of watching people die on the news. We need to do something. It's not enough to go out here and protest. It's not enough to start, you know, an NPO or a community organization. We need to make sure our people decide that this is our line in the sand, right? Everybody said enough is enough with George Floyd, and look where we're at right now. That list fucked me up in the beginning, right? The names of the people, because, you know, you hear about it and you remember it and you see the hashtags and you're like, okay, I'm gonna tweet about this, I'm gonna reshare about this, but again, it fades from your mind. But then I get worked up when I see that. And then I'm like, who's really doing the work out here? Who's really pushing the narrative? Are we either gonna, you know, get riled up again and then say, okay, you know, if Trump's in office, we're gonna still be out on the streets. If Biden's in office, we're still gonna be out on the streets. But then what really changes, right? And I'm hopeful, right? I say all of this and I sound angry and fired up, but I'm really hopeful because we live in a world now where we wear a mask in public. We live in a world where some people have to stand in lines for groceries at the supermarket and at churches and at organizations. So we live in a world where we never thought these things were possible. So yes, the alternative is also, right, the other side of that spectrum, a people-powered world, a world where the priority of the peoples are put first. But if we still keep having these same conversations, then we're never going to get to that world. And for me, I'm so like amped up and jacked up because it's like, I'm tired of this. For me, it was Elijah McClain. Hearing his story really, really warped me in a foundational way. Like it shook my soul reading the trauma, right? And then you think about it on another level about how Black and brown people are like, this is embedded in our DNA, right? We start normalizing this, and it's not normal. It's not normal. It's not okay. And so for me, it's like I'm just tired, right? It's like, you know, everybody talks about 1968 being like this crazy year of revolution and uprising, and we're seeing that this year, right? Those images coming out of Wisconsin, very scary, you know, Ferguson, all these other places. But okay, what are we going to do about it, right?
I got a
What are we
suggestion.
going to do about it?
I got a suggestion. Maybe 10 years ago, there was this incident on the news where this woman was being charged by one of the major credit companies 25% extra on her card. She refused to do that. She got online, and what she did was she encouraged a lot of other people to withdraw their money from that particular bank. So when the police departments start messing with our people, we need to be asking ourselves the question, who do they bank with? Get everybody to draw their money out of that bank. You know, if the city is not corporate, who is the city banking with? Get everybody get their money out of that bank. I mean, when you cut to the quick, you know, this is still all about the money. All the kind of conditions we are, that we have as a people are the result of our economic depression or oppression. You know, there's a lot of things as African Americans in our community we could resolve if we got the dollars. So what do I want for my community? From 27th Street to 45th, from North Avenue to Valete, I want $6 billion pumped in here right now. That's what I want, you know. And if we're not going to the people asking them, where is the money? And when we have these politicians sitting at the table talking to us, psychologically cooling us down around all the problems, if nobody is at that meeting asking about where is the money, then you ain't talking about nothing.
Munir, is this your first time ever? Munir, is this your first time on Zoom?
Yeah.
We got to get you on Zoom more often.
Oh, really?
So Anthony, real quick, how old are you? I hate to
34 years old. I'm up there in years now.
So the reason I ask, I'm 35, and I view part of the project of my life is making sure the world still exists for people that are Naeem's age.
Mhm.
So that was my transition to you, Naeem. What are you thinking right now in this conversation? What's going through your mind as you hear folks talking about kind of now versus later, kind of all the sort of negotiations people make when we're talking about people's lives mattering? What are you thinking?
Okay, I'm on. So yeah, basically, just to take a step back, these conversations that we're having, there's a word for it. I think it's like intergenerational conversations. I guess we're having right now. I guess it's like one generation, talking to another generation. And when I'm in these spaces, I really love to just soak in everything that people have done before me, before my time. I love soaking in all that information because in my mindset, maybe they say something and, I can connect it with something else that I'm doing and, just it could better me and I could say something for them and it could help them out. But just to say that, just being in this intergenerational space, and just thinking about everything that's going on, it's really impacted me a lot. Just having to think about, going out my house and, encountering the police like that at such a young age. I actually did recently encounter the police a couple months ago, and it wasn't a good situation at all. Nothing bad really happened. It's just just encountering police nowadays, just doesn't feel right anymore. So just listening to Anthony, I listened to him before. He's from North too. I love listening to him too sometimes. I've been to a couple places where he's been at, and yeah, I just like soaking up all this information, and I really reflect on this kind of stuff in my own time because it's a real personal stuff to talk about. But just know, I'm taking in all this information from you guys, and I love just being in this space right now, just hearing all this stuff.
So if I could just lift up one thing you said, because you might be the youngest person in the Zoom right now. He's listening. And I think sometimes now that I'm on the threshold of not young anymore, the young people do listen and they are absorbing. And I think sometimes people I've been hearing people older than me say this their whole lives that, what are young people on today? They're just on whatever. They're just in this disposable culture. Let us disavow ourselves of that myth, please. And not be ageist in reverse. So I'm going to move to a question we have here in the chat. Also, I feel like this session could go on for 3 hours. It'll probably go on slightly longer than an hour. So I'm just pointing that out in advance. Trudy, I really like the question you have here. Not that any other folks aren't asking good questions. To a point Lamont's making here in Milwaukee, where the money goes, 51% of our municipal budget goes to the police. That almost seems like fictional, right? Like they didn't go to 50. They're like, let's just make it 51, just to make everyone know. Trudy, I'm going to unmute you here. Would you mind posing your question to our group?
Which one, about divestment or charity and justice?
I was thinking charity and justice, but however you want to do it.
Yeah, well, I really appreciate the opening to join the conversation. I just want to say thank you so much to all of you over these past 4 weeks. It's been an awesome conversation to be a part of and to be new to Milwaukee from the East Coast, learning so much from all of you. So thank you. And yeah, the question is just about thinking about charity versus justice, because I feel like the sort of charitable response is the traditional response to lifting up marginalized communities. And I just have a lot of skepticism around how that really operates. And I'm wondering where you all stand on the sort of notion of, you know, rethinking, undermining those forms of, you know, so-called charity that are actually kind of hard to root out because they appear to be good-hearted, well-intended, and helpful on the surface, but may truly be sort of serving to reiterate the systems that are prohibiting us and, you know, sort of serving as an obstacle to achieving justice. So that's where I'm coming from with that question. I'm just wondering where and how people are seeing that in their communities.
I'm definitely paying attention to that aspect of just they're sort of negligent means when we look at them in a real way. Realistically, I know that charities are donated to all of the time, but I don't really know anyone in my neighborhoods who can tell me honestly out of their mouth that they benefited from that. I'm not saying that whoever has it did not, you know, hit them the way that they needed, or I just haven't seen any of them. I just haven't seen any initiatives being taken care of on the street level where I live. I mean, right down the street we have Master Lock. I've never seen Master Lock throw a community event. I've never seen Master Lock clean up the streets. I've never seen them give anything to the people outwardly. And when we talk about charity, I'm sure that, you know, when you work for these various foundations and charities, that there are many people there who are employees that get paid. Are those some of the donations that are being disseminated, or some of those monies being kicked out to just function or to just make sure that the foundation or charity operates? Because what I have not been seeing is anything tangible. So at these points in times, we have many sports teams and businesses that thrive, that are like Milwaukee staples, and yet the rest of Milwaukee lives in total disarray, disparity, and blight. I mean, we got the Brewers, we got the Bucks, we got Harley Davidson, we got Usingers, we've got all of these different factions that make so much money, and I can't understand why our neighborhoods look how they look. And then at the end of the day, if you were to start this conversation, it would tell us that it was our fault, that we live in the conditions we live in because we did this to our neighborhoods. I mean, for what it's worth, the conversation needs to get going on them contributing to their environment. The city just can't be good for those who are making money and then not kicking it down and not showing that they have a genuine love for their communities. I mean, that honestly looks like the opposite to me. And like we were speaking of earlier, that Anthony mentioned about these different sports factions taking a knee and, you know, protesting for one day and all of these different things. It's like, I can't really see the change. And I think that's the conversation we have to have. We have to start holding them accountable and going to them, like Munir was talking about, put the money back into the neighborhoods. I mean, I'm not going to say that capitalism is built for something like that, but should it be? Probably. Like, I mean, that's something we are responsible to understanding, is like, how can you trample over us so much and we build what you make? We are the employees. We are the consumers. We are the neighborhoods that get worse while you get bigger. Like, that's a problem. That's not, it shouldn't even be able to go on any longer. So I think that as we go straight to all of these different things that we will not rest on any longer, that we won't go to sleep on any longer, those parts of the conversations are the things that I think that collectively we need to start drawing up literature. We need to start drawing up these proposals. We need to start drawing up these plans, because as we boycott things or as we pull out and protest on things, we need to also have viable answers and solutions to then go right in behind them, so that these things won't go away tomorrow. They will start to be rectified and taken care of,
for sure,
as we build on them.
Sherry and TREMERELL, I know you both are involved.
I'm sorry, Adam, but one thing we need to understand is, more than charity, we need partnerships with major corporations. You know, I was in Uganda several years ago, was there with this organization that was taking charity to the people, and all the people there were saying, we don't want your charity. We want partnerships. That becomes a major way for actually starting to get dollars brought back into the community. Charity also puts the stigma on the community about we can't do for ourselves. There are just hundreds of geniuses down here in this community, economically, creatively, spiritually, who have this stigma of charity put on them. Charity is a great start. It's a great start. But for those who are organizing those kinds of things further down in their program, they need to be developing partnerships.
Sherry and Tremerell, I want to offer you both an opportunity to respond to this, because as Munir just pointed out, there's brilliance and genius, and you two, I think, embody some of that in community. Can you guys talk about charity, justice, philanthropy, power within the work you guys are doing, and I think you guys are both rooted in a spot where you have great perspective on this and can offer critique as openly as you want to.
I'll speak on the charity and justice. Charity, with a lot of different organizations and businesses around, they actually just try to feed you enough. I don't know if it's not charity that we need, because they just try to give you enough to just quiet you down, just to keep you moving. But we don't need that. It takes us as a community, and we've been doing it for so long with nothing, with no funds coming from anywhere. We've built what we've had, each and every one of us on this panel we haven't got any funding from anywhere. We just want to see our community change. Justice, where is the justice? Where do we come in at? And if we get quiet right now in the midst of all this madness, we're gonna get what we've been getting, nothing. Charity. It's not time for that. It's time for us to keep moving forward. We have to actually reach each other and help each other to get to the next level, us as a people, police our own community, because what we gonna keep feeding each other fish? No, we got to teach each other how to fish. It's not just charity that we need. We need to get to the next level with ourselves, with our own businesses and things, and reach out and help individuals. It's sad. At this point, I'm not even sad anymore. I'm just angry. I'm mad at the whole situation, everything that's been going down since March for the last 6 months. Just look what's been happening into our community. What has changed? What has really changed? How do we move forward from here? How can we keep making some noise? I'm just angry at this point. I am. I'm not, and it's okay for me to be angry. I'm mad. Just look at all the situations just happening 30 miles from here. I'm a mother of 3 sons. I have 5 grandsons. What is it gonna look like for our children in the future if we don't get it right now? What's gonna happen? What is that gonna look like? I don't know. Justice.
Tremerell, you have any thoughts?
Well, what I was thinking about is jobs in our community, not just people bringing jobs in, but people having their own businesses. We are on right on Center Street, like I said, all these vacant buildings. There are also vacant buildings on North Avenue too, but we have all these vacant buildings on Center Street. These are buildings that can be places for people to build jobs. It's so much talent in our community, but some people need some type of trade. Some people need to build on it. We need people out here to show our young people how to be business owners, what it takes to be a business owner. But we need jobs right in our community. We have all these vacant buildings that's just sitting here rotten. As Sherry said, charity, they give us a little bit just to make us happy. We need jobs, something to actually feed us, that's teaching us how to survive, not just for a day or two, but for a lifetime.
I want to offer just a couple things. This is not editorializing. The Milwaukee Bucks Foundation was founded in, anybody know what year? 2016. That was the year that they needed $250 million from the taxpayers to build an over $500 million basketball arena. They did not have a foundation before they needed that money. And a lot of what they donated to the community was in-kind time from players to go to a school, to read a book or something. They did not realize they needed the community support until they needed $250 million from us. The city of Milwaukee Police Department gets about $300 million a year, as was stated before, over half of our budget. So yeah, those are just some, and one last thing to your point, Tremerell, that you just mentioned, since the industrial peak of Milwaukee, and sorry to keep this so Milwaukee, guys, that's where I am, and I don't know these Newark, I'm sure they're very similar in Newark. We lost about 100,000 manufacturing jobs from our county since the industrial peak. Meanwhile, the suburbs around Milwaukee have gained somewhere in the realm of 40,000 manufacturing jobs, which lie generally 1 mile past the bus line. So sometimes we act as if all those jobs went overseas, but those went to Butler, they went to Waukesha, they went to Ozaukee County. So I'm sorry, Newark folks, but I'm sure these kinds of dynamics we're discussing are not unfamiliar to you all either. So
yeah, I just want to throw in, like, I really feel like charity without empowerment just feeds codependency.
Yeah.
So, you know, then we become codependent on these handouts, and they're not really empowering the community because they don't want that. You know, it's like Adam pointed out, it's like they didn't start this foundation until they needed the money. So you kind of see that time and time again, and there is no incentive for them to empower the community. Because once the community becomes self-sufficient and self-sustainable, then what do we need these corporations for?
Yeah.
And so I think that, you know, that's why you see this big disconnection between charity and justice.
So I think Claire and Tiana in the chat are offering a couple questions forward from there. Tiana points out, why not use the charity money as leverage to get more money invested and grow it? Claire is pointing out, what are some of the actionable issues of how you move behind the charitable mindset? And this is a smart group of people we have right here who are doing that work. You wouldn't have such strong critiques if you didn't, you know, if you weren't part of creating that critique and embodying it within the work you do. Where are those places that you build power? Where are those places that you say, you know, before I was going to say, are there any funders in the room? Good if there are funders in the room, right? Like, they should be hearing what you have to say. So can we talk a little bit about how we move away, or not move away, or how do we just say, yes, that charitable mindset's going to bankrupt us? What comes next?
When we have meetings, when community organizers have meetings around the problems that are going on, one of the first questions they need to be asking themselves is, who's not at this table who should be here? 90% of the time, it's the county treasurer, it's the city treasurer, it's the people from Washington, D.C., from Ways and Means Committee who knows where the real money is. People out here talking about taking this $5 billion away from the police. Well, the police are getting their money out of a $5 trillion bucket. Why aren't we going to that $5 trillion bucket to get our money from them? You know, I mean, and then you have the provocateurs who come in here and tell you that, you know, we should be getting the police money. You know, they're constantly and sophisticatedly moving us away from where the real dollars are, you know. And just to go back to Sister Robinson's point on jobs are important to do if it's work you're doing toward what your life work is. There's definitely a difference between jobs and work. Job is an acronym for just over broke, you know. And what happens is we get that job, we go to work, and spend that money on Friday, and we back to work on that job on Monday. We need to understand the true understanding of the word work, and we need to be developing ourselves spiritually to understand what work is, because all of our works are different. You know, people will take less to do their work, but you got to pay them for a job.
We need to start making more infrastructure for the type of activity that we seek. So as Munir spoke upon, that there needs to be more of a structured way to take the responsibility off of those who never wanted to help us in the first place, who actually gain from our plight, and then take that system and make it work for us. So there are several different plans that I've been looking at and kind of materializing about how to make a community center that is centered around different aspects of skill, trade skills, entrepreneurship, but also manufacturing, and then retail. It sounds grandiose, it does. But if you were to build several of these types of structures and aim them directly at the problems that we have, then we can start to structure them in different neighborhoods that will take care of a lot of our own blight that we see. And so taking responsibility off of those who benefit from our downtroddenness and our poverty is one of the first steps into a better direction, because honestly, they put the red tape there so that we can not achieve it. I mean, these things are not by mistake, they are by design. So for every ill design or evil design, I would refer to it as, we must come up with a more positive way to take that and combat that without them actually being able to stomp all over it and destroy it. I mean, we also have to look at what aspects of community do we involved the most in our daily basis. So on a daily basis, I have many youth that I see around me that if I'm able to help them out in any regard, it gives me more of a comfortability knowing that they won't fall into the hands of the police or just anything that they're not supposed to be into. We kind of are scared on a day-to-day basis that if we don't create enough funding for our own organizations, that we'll see them in jail or we'll see them, be murdered in the streets. There's just a few ways that we can combat it, but we just think that they're too big to do. I mean, we have to start doing these things maybe a piece at a time, but the community centers aren't ever really aimed at taking care of all of, like the Boys and Girls Club. The Boys and Girls Club is a community center for the youth, but yet you have to pay for it. That you can't even enjoy these amenities coming from nothing. You have to have something in order to even deal with them. The YMCA is not too far from here. You have to pay about $80 a week to even be able to go into that center.
Yep.
But these are the things that we need. We need jobs, we say. We need recreation for the youth. We need to put it all in one hub. And then we need to also make sure that the employment is only centered around those who live in that community so that it can start to grow. But those products also have to go off of different entrepreneurs that we know,
For sure.
and solely go through that cycle of retail and consumership, where it builds our companies together and then takes care of a lot of these different aspects of being, disenfranchised in the moment of growth. We don't have any growth. We need to create our own growth and our own wealth. And that is the subject that I'm trying to get my head around. I know many others of you have ideas about, but it's sort of like we have to build infrastructure to take this weight and to grow to the future. It's very necessary for us to create our own means of industry. That is what we need to have, because then nobody can take that from us. We structure that. We create that. We make that. We know exactly what our ills are and what our problems are, but yet go ahead. What was that, Adam?
Yeah, I just want to point out we're on the other side of the noon hour now. So we don't have, we're kind of in overtime. Naeem, I also wanted to offer you, in an intergenerational conversation, I think sometimes a mistake that us that are on our side of the generations is not allowing enough space for people within your place. We asked you to listen too much. We're here to listen to you as well. And I would want to ask you a question. What do you want, as you think about the path that you're moving forward into, what do you need to make that happen? And what do you want from us? And by us, I mean, in this intergenerational conversation, the people that are a generation or two or three ahead of you.
Well, wait, you guys can hear me? I'm good?
Yep.
Okay, so yeah, what I would like to see, you know, as I keep going forward, I definitely love to see change like everybody would want to see. But I actually feel like that, I feel like I have a lot of the resources that I really need to, you know, create that change. I don't feel like I don't have enough resources or enough people to talk to or enough people to answer. I just feel like me, you know, doing community organizing at such a young age, I already, you know, connected and networked with so many people that I feel like I have a lot of resources to do what I need to do. And I feel like, you know, a lot of people don't feel like these conversations, you know, will make change or anything, but I really feel like they do because, you know, me as a youth, like I said earlier, I'll be able to, you know, to hear what, you know, people that been doing this way before my time, you know, what they experienced and, you know, what they've been going through and how they did it and, you know, what did they do wrong and what did they do right. So I don't think it's, you know, just me listening too much, because I actually like to listen a lot because, you know, I like to reflect on the things that I've listened to and I've heard. So yeah, that's just personally for me, but yeah, I have a lot of resources and tools to create change and, you know, keep fighting the great fight and, you know, carry the torch.
So Naeem, do you want to move to Milwaukee?
I would love to stop by. I'm not gonna lie.
by.
I'm actually in Milwaukee.
All right. Well, you come stop by.
I would love to connect.
For sure.
Yeah.
You know what, Carol, I'm gonna give you this opportunity to unmute here real quick. You want to offer a question?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, so first of all, I want to thank Arijit and all of you for this wonderful conversation. I'm sorry I'm coming in on later, but I'm actually an activist in West Oakland, so I'm on the other side of the nation here. And I've been doing this work in the African American community as an Asian American for over 30 years. And so I see this pattern, of course, in all of your conversations. And the interesting thing to me is that there is this intergenerational conversation, and that we really understand that. I've been working mostly with older African American women in my neighborhood, and our latest project is building a library. That's the big project now. So I've seen this sort of energy from the community come together against great odds, of course. I just keep going because the long arc, I can see that it really makes a difference. And that's from my advantage of all this experience. I'm sure TREMERELL and others that have been doing this can speak to that. So I just want to encourage you and tell you that it does make a difference. And no matter how different we are from, like, say, I'm in this community and I'm heading up with Alteneer Cook this work for next year, building the history around this library project, the history of the community. So I think that infrastructure building is really important in a historical sense too. So Arijit and I we're architectural historians, so we work on that. But I actually think that gives an identity to your neighborhood, and you can create them. Like we created Temescal crosswords around the MacArthur Bart project, and now the library is the Hoover Durant Library Project, because there was a library on San Pablo Avenue that was removed by redevelopment. So there's all of this interconnection of blight and redevelopment, of criminalization of your communities that links to this idea of charity, where redemption is supposed to be, you know, you could be redeemed if you do fine things, if you're good people, right? And if you're bad people, you'll be punished and you'll be put away. That actually is from Angela Davis. So keep up the good work, because the positivity of all of this is just, I think, really wonderful and important for the community. Thank you.
Carol, thank you for your comments. As a half Chinese person myself, who's engaged in work and a big fan of Grace Lee Boggs, not to be presumptuous, I appreciate the words you just offered. And I think brings us to a space, a little bit of optimism as we come to a close. What I'm going to do here, Camille wrote some great comments in the chat. I'm going to bring us into a wrapping up space. One thing I want to offer is for if you're out there and you are in an institutional or professional organizational space, I just want to offer my appreciation of Mr. Arijit Sen, who is a college professor, and this is what his work is, what we're doing right now. As you know, universities and colleges are starting back around the country. What that work looks like, it looks like a lot of different things, and Arijit would not be capable of this kind of work if it weren't for you know, a decade or more of investment in communities. And I just want to point out, Arijit, you won a big fancy award, right? So we're supposed to think you're cool now. Arijit, what'd you get? Did you get a big fancy award? No? He doesn't want to talk about it. He won a Fulbright. I think that's how you pronounce it. Fulbright. But yeah, so congrats to Arijit on that. That was just announced a couple of years ago. I will say this, I'm often leery of awards, and I think you confer more prestige to that award than the other way around. So Arijit, you're a phenomenal human being. And I would just, maybe as a closing thing, I've been thinking, you know, just little pieces of shreds of wisdom or aphorisms or sayings or things that can help guide us as we move forward. I'd love to ask from our panelists who remain, just offer the rest of us a short piece of wisdom in 30 seconds or less that maybe is at the core of what's been on your heart and mind lately and helps you stay on track. So are there any ideas, thoughts, you know, advice or pieces of wisdom you can offer us as we head into our Saturday and the world that is around us?
I started by saying that I think we're all cultural creatives. I think we all have a lot to offer, but we need to be able to be sure that we're listening to each other so that we're working together, because out of all of this will come a vision and a solution. And it is my prayer that it is us all working as one.
I would say make sure that we all maintain as positive as an outlook as we can. We must not take this moment to let ourselves down and to let our future down. And we must continue to innovate and to believe in the processes in which we seek to make the change.
If there's any youth members watching on this live stream right now, I was just going to say, you know, just educate, you know, a lot of things that, you know, going on back in the past and going on right now, you know, you really got to, you know, deep dive and research and educate yourself on it, because not a lot of people want you to know about these certain things and want you to know about these certain topics. You know, personally, I'm really big on that, because I learned more things educating myself than actually learning, you know, in high school and sitting in a class. So yeah, I'm just big on educating yourself. If you want to learn about something, you go learn about it. You know, you do the research, you know, you search it up and you find out and you deep dive into it, and yeah, educate yourself. I'm really big on that.
Sherry Tremerell, you want to offer some parting wisdom?
Yeah, I actually want to just party and just self-care. You know, we do a lot of work in giving back and doing it and assisting other individuals, and actually we need to take time, I know I do, and just take care of yourself. And I mean, like you, when you open, you're like, where's that peaceful place? Find that peaceful place for you on the regular. You have to take care of yourself, because we always pouring into others. Just trying to find that space and start pouring into yourself and take care of yourself in the midst of it all. I'm gonna say self-help, without a doubt.
Thank you, Sherry.
Yes.
Optimism. I'm trying to stay optimistic, and I want everyone to. So my word is love, prayer, and positive affirmations. So I do a lot of positive affirmations. Think positively, put it in the air, put it out there. And please, please, please get out and vote for everything. I mean, from the top to the smallest. Get out there and vote and encourage others to do the same. Encourage those to do it early, quick, and fast as soon as possible.
Naeem, this is gonna be your first chance to vote for president. Can you hit those lights for me that you have in your space? Is that a possibility? This is what it's gonna feel like for Naeem to vote for a president for the first time. There we go. We had that planned out, so thanks, Naeem, for indulging me. All right, well, I think that will wrap everything up. Appreciate everyone for coming. I do think this is worth saying. Everyone that I know who's here is a wonderful human being, and if I don't know who you are, I'm sure you are too, because of the quality of the people that I do know. So thank you for being part of these conversations. Arijit, you gave me something to do other than pace around in my backyard by myself on Saturday mornings for a month. I appreciate you doing that. Do you have any words you want to say to wrap up this series?
I just wanted to say thank you, everyone. It's been a learning experience for me, but also it's, we have had 4 months without hugging someone, without seeing someone three-dimensionally. I'm beginning to believe that every human being is a screenshot. But just to hear everyone, just to realize that we are part of a larger community has been really helpful. We do hope that the Newark Milwaukee connection will sustain, and at some point something will happen, people will connect, because it's together that we can actually make our world a better place. I have learned a lot from the community here, and I want to thank you on behalf of myself and my students for teaching us everything that we do right now. So thank you very much.
Thank you. And I will just say, I would love for Milwaukee to have a chance to, some of these incredible Milwaukee folks to visit Newark and vice versa. For the rest of the day, Naeem, tell everyone you see in Newark that Milwaukee loves them, okay? And we'll do the same here in Milwaukee. Let them know that Newark loves them. Appreciate you guys very much. And that's it. You are all at home right now, so be home. You don't have to stay home, but you can't stay here, I guess is what they say. But maybe, wait, you are there? I don't know. That one doesn't work for Zoom. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Good. Bye, guys.
Thank you.